Hello everybody. Today's topic is tools that allow you to reach into tight spaces. This might be one of my favorite topics and one of my main pet peeves about automotive projects. And that is you are working on a project and you can't reach a bolt, or the bolt is so far up there you can't see it, and you have to reach around above your head and reach back inside something and do it by feel. So, what I've been focusing on lately, and also when I'm buying tools for my son who's an aircraft mechanic, and there's lots of small, hard to reach pieces on those airplanes, is tools that allow you to reach into those small spaces, get the job done. A lot of these are kind of specialized, but we all know that we're only one bolt away from a 1 hour job being a 3 day job if you can't reach it, or you can't loosen it, or you can't get the bolt out, or that kind of situation. So I thought I'd go over some of the tools that I've collected over the years that have really helped in that situation, and also that I use on a daily basis when I'm working on projects, even around the home, on the motorcycle. I have several motorcycles, and various automotive projects. So I have quite a few of them here. I'll go over them a little bit, and I've made other videos that go into some detail on some of these products. So there will also be a list at the end where you could order these if you want. Some of them are affiliate links, so take a look at those. So I think I'll start over here, and I'll kind of work my way around the table. Um, Obviously, we drop things all the time, so we have the infamous pickup device. It's got the little claw on the end. Everybody needs those. Also have several magnets here, telescoping, that you can reach down in when you drop uh, nuts and bolts down into an engine bay or something. Sometimes they're also useful for starting screws and things like that, so I've used those. Now these are a little bit more specialized. They're tight reach extension clamps. These are great. You can put a nut or a bolt into the little clamp, reach into some really tight spaces, and put the bolt in a hole, and then loosen the clamp. Also great for those spring style hose clamps that will hold it in place. And also they're just great clamps, so you can hold really small pieces, and they have a pretty good reach, and I have some short ones and some long ones. My other pet peeve about hard to reach things is if you can't see it, it's kind of hard to visualize what you need to do about it. So you always need a little mirror. I also have a headlamp here. This one's an LED strip. It's great, provides tons of light, and one of my favorites. So moving on, we have some extensions here. These are from Genius Tools. They're Dr. Wobble. They're called Wobble Plus. They're both wobble and standard. So for instance, if you put one on all the way, it's a standard, and if you pop it out halfway, it's a wobble, right? So that extension can get you into several situations, and you don't have to carry two sets of extensions. Extensions, I use those all the time, especially on things like suspension and deep in the engine bay. So a good set of wobble, and especially wobble plus, is a definite plus. Let's see. We'll move on around here to these are crow's foot extensions. Great for being able to torque things that you can't get a socket onto. So you can put it on, for instance, an extension, get down underneath something, and actually put some torque on it. And they're also great for just being able to reach things that you can't put a socket on. Similarly, there's some torque extensions. Same idea, only instead of open-ended, they're closed-ended. I use these quite often when there's not space to put your torque wrench in there, and you need to torque something to a specific value. Those are great. Speaking of getting into tight spaces, this has been my go-to ratchet for quite a while now. It's a 90-degree wrench or electric wrench, so um, bidirectional, but you can reach spaces that you can't reach with your regular, say, impact wrench, and it's a pretty nice little tool. I find I use it on most of my projects nowadays. And moving on, we have a couple specific wrenches here that I found useful over the years. I do like pivot head um, ratchets like this, right? But what I don't like is that they usually wobble around. This particular style, you can unlock it and put it where you want it, and it will stay at a specific angle. So I don't like the ones that flop around, so look for ones with locks on it. This one is similar, only this is a 1/4 inch, and again, it has a lock on it. This one you can also put things like screwdriver bits and stuff in, so but it's got a little longer reach. This is an interesting one called an indexing ratchet. It looks kind of similar, but you can unlock it and move it around to a specific angle and lock it again so you can get into those tight spaces. The other thing you can do is use it as a speed wrench, right? Because it goes all the way around. Or you can get it in a tight spot and go back and forth, right? As a limited space speed wrench. So you just push and pull instead of having to swing it, right? So that takes like almost zero swing angle, right? And that's very fast. And in tight spots, I found that useful sometimes. Similarly, we have a gear wrench, ratcheting wrench, right? Open-ended on the other end. But this one is indexing, and it does lock. Push and pull that button. And it works kind of similar to the indexing ratchet in that you could put it at a specific angle and push and pull it, or you can lock it in place. It's very handy for those awkward situations. Moving on, we have a couple sets of very small tools. So this is an icon set. This is, I believe, an Aries set. What I like about some of these is they're very low profile. So for instance, this one will fit into the head unit there, and it's very short, so you can fit it into small spaces, and yet it still has a nice grip on the nut. It doesn't do deep nuts, so if there's a bolt there that you had to put in, it probably won't fit, but great for tight spaces. This little unit right here is great. They're always sold out at Harbor Freight. These are the Icon nut driver set, and just a great little tool for, say, working under a dash or in tight spots. Also is a low profile set of impact drivers. So they're much shorter than your standard one. I also like these because you can put a wrench on these. So if you can't fit a ratchet in there, you might be able to get on a bolt and put a wrench on it. Okay, so moving on. So here we have a set of tools that are collectively known as offset adapters or offset extension adapters. Basically what they allow you to do is when you can't put like an impact gun or something, or even a big ratchet because there's zero swing space, these give you an offset, and you can even change directions 180 degrees. So the input is this direction, but you need to come back this direction. So this particular one, you can put these low profile things in here, and you apply an input there. which in this case is a 19 millimeter. So you could put a, say, an impact wrench there, or a ratchet. You can even use, going through the center hole there, can be a 6 millimeter hex screwdriver bit. And you can come in from either side, same with this. So you can go the same direction or come back the other way. And this one is gear driven. These two are similar principles, but these are chain driven. Right? This is a 1/4 inch. That one's a 3/8 inch. Although this one does have adapters. So those are great for working behind, studs, or in this case, I use these all the time for suspension work, brake work, where you can't put that impact wrench in there, and you can get a shot at them with these. And also these don't have any swing angle, so you might have room out here, but over here you don't have to swing this tool at all. It just stays stationary. So good for places you don't have room to swing. Next here we have a set of very tiny wrenches. These go down to 4 millimeters, and this is both an SAE and metric set. So sometimes you just have tiny little spaces to get into. I also like that this one has pretty straight, but also like a 70-degree offset, so you can come in at an angle. And then this side is the SAE, and that's the metric. It's a great little set to have with small little nuts and bolts under dashes. I've used it several times for that. Next, I don't have the whole set out here, but I have an example of a super slim wrench. You can see it's only 3 millimeters wide. A standard one is 10 or 11 for these same size. This one's a 21 and a 19 millimeter. So these will fit into slots, like underneath things that don't have a lot of gap. You don't need these very often, but when you need them, you really need them. So this was a good little investment. I've used it several times, mostly to keep nuts from spinning when I'm trying to tighten a bolt or that kind of thing. You can't put a lot of torque on those because there's not a lot of surface area, and they're kind of short, so you don't have a lot of leverage. But once again, if you can't fit a regular wrench on it, or a crescent wrench, or even needle nose pliers, sometimes those will work. So moving on here is kind of a collection of smaller tools that I use quite often. I love stubbies. They fit into spots that your longer wrenches and ratchets won't get into. This is a 1/4 inch, great little one, very smooth and great. These are Knipex. Great tools, very precise, very small. These aren't even the smallest versions, but you can put these in your pocket, carry them around, and this is kind of like having a mini channel lock in your pocket, but it's more precise. So this one is smooth jawed, kind of like a crescent wrench. This one has a little more grip to it, and you can get the teeny tiny ones that will definitely fit in your pocket even easier, but really great. Picks, use these all the time. O-rings particularly, but all sorts of small pieces that you just can't get a fingernail under. And probably the tool I use most often in my whole garage is just a tiny screwdriver. So keep that in my pocket and use it all the time. So then we have some other items here. These are pretty specialty, but these are hose clamp pliers. But I like these because they're locking, so they ratchet down, and then you can release them. They spin up here, so these are great for reaching into really tight spots where the hoses always seem to live. And because they're ratcheting, you can lock them down, move them around, and then they'll keep the hose clamps open. So those are great. And lastly, we just have a few adapters that everybody should have, but for fitting into tight spaces, your standard adapter looks like that. So it's changing. This one's from 3/8 to a 1/2 inch. Um, but it does add quite a bit of length to um, that you have to go into some spaces. When you have a tight space, that's not the greatest. So I found this set really nice, right? So this is the same 1/2 inch or 3/8 to 1/2 inch, but you can see it's considerably shorter, right? So they're low profile, and I found this set is really nice, and they have little magnets on them so they don't fall out. Everybody should have a set of universal joint um, adapters. So it's similar idea to the wobble, but it doesn't have as much length, and obviously these will rotate as you go around. Similarly, there's a swivel. The swivel just doesn't swivel as much as a universal, because this one will do almost 90 degrees, but not quite. This one will do 30 degrees or something like that. But similar ideas. They can still swivel as they turn, but other than that, it lets you get into the same kind of tight spaces these would, but with a little less space. So these are shorter than those, which is good. I just threw this one in because I found it one day at some hardware store. It's a 90-degree adapter, so you put your ratchet there and you put your socket there. But it isn't a U-joint one. It's just kind of, you spin it like this. It's been pretty sturdy. I've used it a couple times. It's probably more useful as a fidget spinner because it's kind of cool to play with. But I just thought I'd throw it in there. In any case, that is my take on tools that are useful for reaching into really tight spots. And maybe some of these will get you out of a jam at some point. And having the right tool is always my favorite thing. And when I finish a job and I knew I couldn't have finished it without the right tool, and I happen to have that tool, it's just the best feeling in the world. So thanks a lot for listening, and I hope this helps when you're out shopping for your future tools. Thanks a lot.